I hope this makes the rewind. Nick, can you do the yeah on the mic for us? Oh, he doesn't want to be the joke. It's only me who can be. TexAgs rewind. Yeah, Aggies won a game. Hey, we're going to react to that 20-3 win. OB, not as excited as some of you. He almost was a little bit more disappointed in that victory. They did win 20-3. We talked about that here on TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci did give us his thoughts here on what the Ags were able to do. Tom Hart came in, and we talked about the whole state of the SEC. Hello, South Carolina. What did you just do? Goodness gracious. Then Buzz Williams, always on time, actually always early, joined the show as well. Talked about a rough weekend there at the Myrtle Beach Invitational, but they did finish with a bang, so appreciate that. It is TexAgs Rewind.
Well, they were moving the ball, and then they were down close, and the ball slips out of Connor's hand when he's trying to throw. Or that there was a short pass to Green, which Connor should have run on, by the way, and when he got hit, he fumbled. And you can go back and count up the fumble. Say, well, yeah, that the opportunity was, and then you missed 2 field goals. And I keep coming back to the fact that, man, those are all factors, but you were playing UMass.
Yep. I'll take the win, though. Look.
Oh, I think a loss would have been a fireable offense. I'm just saying, I don't see how you celebrate this win, and I personally do not buy, and I think most people that are invested in this program will not buy the statement that any win is a good win. Now, they're better than a loss. Would you rather win poorly? Yes, absolutely. But that's not a good win. Eking out a victory over that team when you're at home and all that is not a good win.
Well, I'm going to go back to something that I've said 100 times. If this team had just an average offense, average, all right, and I went through it with Billy yesterday on the Luchador. How many more wins do they have? Just an average offense.
Oh gosh, well,
Alabama's a win.
I don't know if their offense was average that night though.
It was good at the end. It was good in the beginning, but they went a lull just like they did against Ole Miss.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, sure. But I think as many turnovers as Alabama gave you, was it 4 in that game?
Yeah.
You got to score more
they
points.
didn't give you. You forced them.
You forced them. Thank you. But you won at Arkansas. Who's after Arkansas?
Mississippi
State. I don't know. That game, I think you beat Alabama. I think you beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And I think
Florida,
you're up at the half with a good offense. You had a terrible half in the terrible offense in the second half.
In the second.
Yeah.
South Carolina, easy.
You win.
Easy. South Carolina's an easy win if you just show up.
And part of me thinks I would never want a loss. Ever want a loss. But it takes those losses to really change what we think will change this offseason.
Yeah. Well, and again, to me, and I'd like to know if people agree or disagree. It's fine if you disagree with me. But to me, that win should be the last argument, the mic drop that you've got to change the offense, that you've got to make. The offense has to change. The play calling has to change. The scheme has all those things. When you go out and score, I don't care what the conditions are. When you score 20 points against UMass, you know how many teams have scored 20 points or less against UMass?
How many?
3.
3 teams.
A&M, Stony Brook, and then there was another team that scored 20.
Now, I'm trying to look at, Alabama scores 34. LSU scores 41. And hello, South Carolina, what they were able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. I don't know what was different about Saturday outside of the weather. Now I think that obviously played a role with A&M with the turnovers and whatnot, but it just goes back to, it's not been fun to watch this year, and it's frustrating, and it's certainly not getting any better on the offensive side of the ball. It doesn't matter who's in there at quarterback. There's no doubt Wigman has introduced a heightened level of excitement in terms of just kind of playmaking ability there at the position, but there's still no blocking. The running game is, there were points in the year where I thought it was getting better. It's inconsistent at best. And like I said yesterday, I don't understand when we get up, you start a game, and UMass throughout the course of the week can scheme up how to run the ball against Texas A&M's defense, and not to quote Lane Kiffin, but all those 5-star guys, and they are all highly recruited and or have played a lot, in some cases both. And UMass can come out. And look, do I think people jumped the gun, and a lot of people showed their asses on Twitter, and a couple people we know very well, crying about the A&M's defense's inability to stop UMass. And again, like, I'm not saying that they should get a medal or anything for it, but that was a 3-point game, and UMass really had a drive or two in 60 minutes that would be anything of note or substance. But my point is not to fly off the handle over what you saw on the first drive of the game, but my question is, why can UMass scheme up and line up where they can come out and just chew up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yards a clip on you down the field, and A&M even with injuries, David, an overwhelming talent edge over the Minutemen, and this offense can't come out and figure out how to block well enough to run the football to start a game. And don't tell me about numbers in the box and things like that. Why can UMass come out and run it on A&M, and A&M can't come out and run it on UMass?
Go back to Tennessee, South Carolina, Tom. Was that the most – that's as shocking a result as I can remember seeing in college football. Not just the fact that South Carolina won as a 22-point underdog, but just the manner in which they beat them with what was at stake for Tennessee, with who Tennessee had at quarterback. How can you remember a game that you've seen in this league? And give me an example, because I'm banging my head against the wall trying to think of one.
I can't think of one in this league, because in this league, if you're an elite team who's in the playoff or knocking on the door, you quite frankly win those games, even if it's the Iron Bowl and you have to, with Cam Newton come back with a crazy second half.
You don't lose them by 30. That's for damn sure.
Right. And again, to your point, against a mediocre team, I'd go back maybe to West Virginia in 2007, the national championship trip on the line. And now that was a rivalry game. I mean, that was they're playing Pitt.
Yeah.
That's a rival. You never know what's going to happen in a game like that, and you have to get up for it. This was a total meltdown, and it exposed Tennessee defensively for what they are. It's going to bring questions, and this goes back to when Heupel was at Missouri and Barry Odom was the head coach. We just saw Barry this weekend, and Barry liked what they were doing offensively, but he reiterated you can't be a good defense in the SEC when you run the system. You just can't. Something's got to give. Your defense is on the field too much. There's, you end up sucking a bunch of your athletes over to the offensive side. They just
you can't practice. I don't know. You can't practice the way you have to play.
That's right. That's a very important point. You don't have those physical practices. So, and by the way, it's also a tip of the cap to, and this is relevant in Aggie land, to old school pro style offenses, which is what Marcus Satterfield runs at South Carolina. Spencer Rattler got there after running spread and air raid stuff his entire life, and he was totally lost for the first 2/3 of the season. He was paralyzed by all of the language, all of the movement, everything that he was responsible for as a quarterback. But he figured it out, and he figured it out in the biggest game of the year for South Carolina. And now they have a chance, by the way, to do the same thing. If they can do it against Tennessee, why can't they do it against Clemson and knock them out of the playoff?
Wow.
Tom, I had Hendon Hooker as my Heisman guy for most of this season. Now, unfortunately, what happened to him, how do you think that plays out now? Because I don't think it's going to be Bryce Young. Is it going to be C.J. Stroud?
Maybe Caleb Williams. I mean, how do you guys feel about the idea that November games are weighted more than games in the previous 2 months when it comes to Heisman voting?
I don't like that. I don't think it should. Although I do think quarterbacks, any player that when they excel like Hendon Hooker against South Carolina, had he done what Rattler did, like when it's all on the line, when it's at stake, these teams that are playing for playoffs and championships, yeah, I can see why those matter more, why those are weighted more because the stakes are higher.
Buzz, so after a couple of rough games this weekend, just how nice to finish Myrtle Beach with playing your brand of basketball there. Defense was certainly ramped up.
Yeah, I think we were much closer to what we want to be about on Sunday. And in truth, I think we started heading back that direction on Saturday. We put in a full day of work, including a real practice on Saturday. That was not scheduled. You don't schedule real practices when you're playing 3 games in 4 days. I think Murray State hit us first, and I don't think that it knocked us out, but I do think that it staggered us. Mm-hmm. And I think we played the rest of the game on Thursday, not us, not awful, but like, hey, why are they playing so hard and why do they keep hitting us? We're supposed to be good. And I probably, as a leader, gave too much grace Thursday night. I thought we would respond on Friday. And you could argue that Friday was as poor as we've played in a long time relative to our competitive character. There were a lot of tactical things that we were really bad at, and you could point out all of those things. But at the core of that, we did not play with the intensity or the tenacity or the togetherness that we have to play with in order to have a chance. And so our response on Friday was more devastating than how we handled Thursday. I did not anticipate that would have been our response. That's immature on my part. I take the blame for that. I told the team that. Met with every single player Saturday morning, each player 25 minutes each. We watched defensive clips from the first 2 games on Saturday at noon. We went directly from those clips to practice. We came back, showered, and then watched offensive clips and rebounding effort clips before dinner. Had an earlier shoot-around than normal at the hotel on Sunday, and then had even another brief shoot-around instead of watching film before we left. So our schedule was altered from Saturday morning until tip on Sunday, but I do think we at least made the next right step after 2 distinctly negative steps on Thursday and Friday.
All right, friends, just do me a simple favor. Like, comment, subscribe to TexAgs channel. Happy Thanksgiving for those of you who go on to see your families early. Hopefully you can watch us here on YouTube or wherever you get this info. We'll see you next time here on TexAgs.